Well, welcome back everybody, it's Nicola Cairncross here. Is that 95% of all new businesses fail in the first year and another 95% fail in the following 5 years. So it's not any more safe to start an established business, and it's often a lot more risky because you have to make a lot more investment. You have to invest in premises, you have to invest in staff, you have to invest in upfront rates and leases and all, equipment and all that stuff. So I'm here to tell you today that I would recommend that you operate your new business, start and operate your new business as if it was a startup. It's more nimble, it's faster, it doesn't fail any more often, especially if you follow the lean startup principles, which I'm going to tell you about today. I've done this several times, and I'm going to recommend 2 books, as is my wont, and both of them I have used myself and found them very useful. I'll never forget the first time I came across the lean startup principle. I was in between businesses, and one had just failed spectacularly after several years of huge success. But the great financial crisis came along and scuppered us all. And I remember I was really struggling to think up what to do next. I had loads of skills, I had loads of experience, didn't know what I was doing in choosing my next business model. And I remember asking a friend of mine, Andy, he'd say, what should I do? Because I actually felt that little confidence in my own ability to choose. And he said, well, of course, I could tell you what I would do, but I can't tell you what you should do. So you'll have to figure it out yourself, love. Very helpful, I thought at the time. And anyway, I stumbled across this book, The Lean Startup, and I absolutely loved it. And the reason I did was because it says there's no magic formula to choosing the right business model that's going to succeed for you. What you have to do is just pick something, get started, and then iterate. This is a new word on me, iterate your way to success, which means basically that you pick something, you choose it, you get it up and running as quickly as possible, and then you let the market tell you whether you're succeeding or not. Whereas with a traditional business plan, you write it all down and you stick to it no matter what. You might change your marketing methods or you might change your funding methods, but you don't change your business idea or your business model. Whereas with the lean startup, you can end up pivoting completely away from the thing that you thought you were going to be building because your market is telling you that they want something else. I've got some great examples here of businesses that actually pivoted. So again, I'm going to refer to my notes. 1 second, caller. Right, okay, many examples of companies that have pivoted. Slack, who you would have heard of, originally started as an internal communication tool for a video game company. They pivoted to become a standalone product after realising the potential for a new type of workplace communication tool. Instagram initially launched as a location-based check-in app called Bourbon. Instagram pivoted to focus on photo sharing and tagging your location after realising that users were primarily using the app for photo sharing. Groupon started as a fundraising platform called The Point. Groupon pivoted to become a daily deal site after testing a daily deal concept that quickly gained popularity with its users. Dropbox initially launched as a platform for remote workers to access files. Dropbox pivoted to become a cloud storage provider after realising the potential for a broader market for cloud-based storage. Airbnb is the last one. Originally started as a way for hosts to rent out air mattresses in their living rooms. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Airbnb pivoted to become a global platform for short-term rental accommodations after realising the potential for a larger market. So they all use the lean startup approach. Now, one of the lean startup approaches is you need a minimum viable product. You're not building the most perfect thing. Now, I hope you can hear that all of these principles are really good for you if you find it really difficult to make decisions, if you are a perfectionist, if you want to see what the end in mind looks like before you even get started. This is a brilliant way to go. So the Lean Startup by Eric Ries, R-E-I-S, I think it is a great book to get going with. And of course it will be available on audio if you don't like to read. But the thing you need is a minimum viable product. You don't want all the bells and whistles yet because you don't know if anyone wants it. And the best, I think I've mentioned this several times before, I think in context of my profitable training courses training, I think I talk about the importance of putting up a landing page and actually testing the landing page with some Google or Facebook ads, driving some traffic to your website and see if anyone actually hits the buy button. and the buy button has got to be attached to something where people can actually pay, which is easy enough nowadays. Now, don't panic, you can always refund them, or you can tell them that they're going to be beta testers and they're getting a big discount for beta testing your product. But if nobody comes, if nobody clicks your ads, and if nobody opts in to your landing page, you can make it so it doesn't actually take payment. You can make it so it just takes people's names and addresses. If nobody actually puts their name and address in to get notified when your product goes live, then they're not very interested in your product or service. And a deafening silence can be good as feedback as well. The other thing that the lean startup method does, which I love very much, is that it makes data-based decisions. And I've totally adopted this since I read this book. Only ever make decisions based on data, and experiment if you need to get the data you need. What kind of data am I talking about? I'm talking about the kind of data of, does anyone respond to my ad? Does anyone click on the button? Does anyone come through and put their name and email in? Because you can argue till you're blue in the face, even with yourself, and I'm pretty good at arguing with myself, you know, that one way or another, you think this way or you think this way, and you're absolutely convinced that's the right way to think about something. But if you can't prove it by running an experiment and then seeing what the data tells you, then you're just really just going like that with your business. So you've got to have at least 100 conversions though, that's the important thing. So if you want to run an experiment and try, say, 2 landing pages, one where it just takes a name and email, one where it actually gets people to pay a deposit, then you've got to have at least 100 conversions on each iteration, each variation, sorry, not iteration. And Google Analytics will let you do this. Basically, you put a bit of code on the first page and a bit of code on the second page, and Google Analytics will divert half the traffic, every other bit of traffic from that page to that one, and that will enable you to run your tests. But getting traffic is one of the hardest things to do on the internet. So if you've got a full social media following already, if you haven't, start building one up quickly, because it helps when you're going to do Twitter ads or Instagram ads or whatever, or boost a post on social media in any way. It helps if you can tell those companies what kind of people already come to your website or your landing page. That's all you need nowadays, a landing page. Let's just recap. So you're going to start fast and you're going to fail fast, because failing is not an issue around here. It's about iteration and trying out different versions of your minimum viable product. It's about getting as much traffic to your site as you can so you can run experiments. It's about doing 2, never more than 2 split tests, and you can be split testing things. You can get really sophisticated with that eventually. You can even split test things like headlines, sub-headlines, colour of the buttons. And one of my friends, Minesh, was even down to the point of split testing lots of different blues for his buy button. And funnily enough, the British Airways blue worked best on his website. So you can really get down in the nitty gritty weeds of testing eventually, but you've got to get a minimum viable product up. And when I'm talking about a minimum viable product, don't just mean the product you're going to be selling, the product or service. I mean the minimum viable product of the landing page, the minimum viable product of the ad. Don't get hung up on the details, just get one up there. If you've got one of anything up and running, whether it's the ad, the landing page, the product itself, that becomes the control. So once you know how many people take action out of your every 100, then it becomes a control, and your second version is trying to beat the control. And can you see how wonderfully freeing this will be? It will take all the guesswork away from starting your business. It will take all the guesswork away from, is this the right things to put on the page? And funnily enough, ChatGPT is actually really good at writing landing page copy. In fact, it's very good at writing website copy, full stop. So if you're not very confident with your writing skills, then you could certainly use ChatGPT initially to create content for you. And I saw somebody doing just that earlier. He was creating content for a website. It was unbelievably quick. And I mean, I'll tell you, when I was doing the research for this video, it was unbelievably quick too. The jury's out on ChatGPT. I don't think it can do creative stuff. I don't think it can replace a human, not by any stretch of the imagination, and creativity particularly. But I do think for things like real basic tasks, it does a really very good job. So yeah, get the book, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, or listen to the audio. And the other book I'd like to recommend to you is The 7-Day Startup. In fact, if you're a little bit easily overwhelmed, and you're not very good at reading or listening, then I would start with the 7-Day Startup, because it's Dan Norris's much more simplified version of the Lean Startup. And he started his business WP Curve with that, and using the principles of that book, and I started Clicks and Leads using the principles of that book as well. So they really do work, and it's basically how to get a minimum viable version of your new business up and running within 7 days, and it just tells you exactly what to do on each day. And now with the advent of cards, CARRD.co, you can really get some a very decent 3-page website up. You can go, you know, the landing page, you can have an opt-in on it, you can have a thank you page, and really you can even have a product sales page that uses the same thank you page. So you could get up a landing page, which will be an opt-in page, and then you could get a sales page up using one of their templates, and then you have a thank you page. So what I suggest you do in that situation is you have a landing page which is sort of selling people on the idea of opting in, and immediately they do opt in, they end up on your either the thank you page or the sales page if you've got something to sell straight away. And then after they take the action on your sales page, they end up on your thank you page. You really want to work out what action you want people to take. So if you've got something to sell straight away, I would drive all the traffic to a landing page, get people's names and email addresses out of them for something that they perceive to be of value, and then jump them straight to the sales page. And then you'll soon find out if your product or service will sell, even if it's a very, very minimum viable product version. And then jump them to the thank you page, because of course you'll want to be putting Google Analytics code on all of these 3 pages, and that's very easy to do. I've got bogged down in the weeds on the detail a bit there. So if you've got any questions, as always, pop them in the comments below. I love to see your questions and comments, and I'd love to help you more on the topics that you want me to cover. So that's my main challenge at the moment, is finding out what you want me to cover. So do feel free to suggest topics, and I'll do my very best to cover them. I hope that helps. See you tomorrow.